So earlier this week, I was speaking at a conference, and right after I got done with one of my sessions, the conference organizer came into the room as I was packing up to go to lunch, and she said, "Hi, Trevor, I have a huge favor to ask you, and feel free to say no if you want to, but our guest speaker for our lunch session, which the whole conference attends, had to cancel the very last minute, and we were wondering if maybe you could come and give the presentation at lunch." I was like, okay, are any of the teachers who've been in my past sessions today going to be there? Can I use the same material? She goes, actually, yeah, all of them will be. I said, oh, so you want me to give a new talk today at lunch? Yes, is that possible? Is what she said. I was like, well, when is this? And she's like, in about 10 minutes. Okay, so you want me to write a 20-minute talk in 10 minutes and then deliver it in 10 minutes. And she goes, if you don't, and I didn't say that, but she's like, if you don't want to do that, I totally understand. I said, no, I can do that. I want to be a good old conference speaker for you. And so she walked out, and I'm like, all right, I've got 10 minutes to plan 20 minutes of content to deliver in front of the entire conference in 10 minutes. And so I sat down and I start thinking, and I go into my brain. I'm like, all right, what stories can I tell? How should I introduce it? How should I break the tension? How should I do all these things? How should I talk for 20 minutes? As then I'm just starting to think, somebody walks in and they say, hey, Trevor, I was just in your session. I would love to tell you about what I do in my classroom and how my son's a teacher and blah, 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 blah. And she wanted to talk to me, which is natural and good. And normally I'd be really excited to sit down and talk to somebody who was just in one of my sessions, but I had to plan a 20-minute talk in this amount of time, but I'm too polite, and so I didn't tell her to leave, and I said, sure, tell me about it. And she talked and she talked and she talked, and it went on about 8 minutes. And then when she left, I said, so nice meeting you. Now I've got 2 minutes to plan 20 minutes of content that I have to deliver in 2 minutes. And so I was out of time. And so I left the room I was in. I started walking down, and I had to go down to this school's cafeteria to give this 20-minute talk. And I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And I'm not exaggerating, no hyperbole here. I had no idea what I was going to share about. So I'm walking down there and I'm thinking, like, what story can I share? What have I not talked about already today? What can be new? What can be inspiring? I have no idea what I'm doing. How could they ask me to give a 20-minute talk with 10 minutes of planning time, but then let people come in and talk to me and take up 8 of those minutes? So I walked into this cafeteria, and as I'm walking in, the conference organizer's there, and she goes, oh, thank you so much. Hi, everybody, can I get your attention? I want to take a minute and introduce our guest speaker today for the lunch. His name is Trevor, blah, blah, blah. And so she's introducing me, and she leaves out that fact that they asked me to do this 10 minutes ago. And so I walk up there, and I swear to you, I still didn't know what I wanted to talk about. And she goes, here's Trevor, and everybody claps. And I'm like, I'm trying to do 2 things at once. And you're going to see where this is all going, how this applies to you in a minute. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. I'm trying to stand here and present, but I'm also trying to figure out what am I going to say here. And so I just started it by saying, hi, everybody, I'm Trevor, and I found out 8 minutes ago that I was going to talk to you today at lunch. So let's have some fun. And everybody laughed at that joke, which wasn't actually a joke, but I made it very clear that I had just a few minutes to actually plan this thing, and that it's going to be an adventure either way. And all of a sudden, you could see as people are laughing and kind of feeling for me, and a little bit of that self-deprecating humor, the tension was starting to be released from the room. I was starting to win them over from the very beginning. And that made me feel good as a speaker. And all of a sudden, some clarity came through to me, and I came up with a quick story that I knew was powerful, and that I knew I would be able to tell it. And so I thought of that, and then all of a sudden, I just went for it. And for the next 20 minutes, I shared stories and made some fun points and interacted with people. And it was great, and I loved it, and I think people loved it as well. And I left there thinking to myself, A, holy crap, that was insane. B, that was a lot of fun as well. And then C, this isn't the first time I've had to do this. You know, it was the first time I've ever been asked to do it in front of a bunch of teachers at a back-to-school kickoff with 10 minutes to plan and only 2 minutes actually to plan. But this wasn't the first time I've had to improvise on the spot. You know, I'm a high school teacher in my background. Like I have been with students, and I've been there on days where the Wi-Fi went out. and my whole lesson was designed around something on the internet, and I had to all of a sudden come up with a whole lesson, despite the fact that everything I planned the night before didn't work. Or one time I planned this awesome lesson, and it had to do with watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and then we were going to do a bunch of stuff based on those YouTube videos. But they put in content filters the night before for some reason, and I wasn't able to show those YouTube videos. And so my whole lesson, which was based on this technology, was taken away from me, and now I still have an hour to fill with students. I still have to make sure that their time is valuable, so I had to improvise. I had to adapt. I had to be flexible. And I think that's one of the real skills of being a teacher, is that you know how to adapt. You think you've got one thing planned, and then half your class is sick, and all of a sudden you have to do something different. Or you think you have one thing planned, and then you get a call from the principal, and it disrupts everything that you were planning on doing. You think you have one thing planned, and then everybody doesn't bring their books that day. Or they do bring their books, but nobody read. Or whatever it is, teaching takes immense flexibility. It takes some quick thinking on the spot. And I really think that's how I was able to get through this experience in that cafeteria. That this wasn't the first time I had to work under pressure, that I had to come up with something engaging and entertaining and effective with a very short amount of time and very few resources to work with. And that's why I appreciate teachers. That's why I love being around teachers so often, because they're dynamic people. They're creative people. They're experienced people. Something I've been talking a lot about when I go out and speak with schools, or when I work with my college students or whatever, is the idea of soft skills. You know, these essential skills: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, confidence. These skills that we desperately need in the real world, but which aren't really focused on nearly enough in things like the Common Core or state standards or whatever it is, and how I think we need to talk about that more. And I think the best way to do that and make sure our students learn those skills is, as teachers, be very open about how we use them ourselves. Nobody uses essential skills more than teachers. Nobody is required to be adaptable and have to be able to communicate and publicly present ideas and problem solve and critically think and work on the fly and have confidence and work ethic. Teachers envelop all of the soft skills, the essential skills. And so I just love being around teachers. That's why I love being around people who are this dynamic. So anyway, if you are ever asked to give a lunch keynote with 10 minutes and then really 2 minutes, just know, take some deep breaths, think really, really quick, and also know that you got it, because you're a teacher, and teachers can do that kind of stuff. So, yikes.